南无大愿地藏王菩萨。Homage to Earth Store Bodhisattva, King of Great Vows. Okay, I'll give you a line. 无上甚深, oh, you can all do it. Come on, let's go. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, in hundreds of thousands of millions of eons, is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it, within our sight and hearing, we vow to understand the Tathagata's true and actual meaning. Well done. 阿弥陀佛。金牛师，请进，请进。Welcome everyone. My name is Heng Sure. Today is Saturday, May 31st, the last day of May. We are here at the Earth Store Bodhisattva Hall at City of 10,000 Buddhas. We have a bhikshu coming in. Could you all shift one seat to the left? There you go. Kai, if you want to stay there, you're filming. Jinyu Shi, we got a place for you in front. This is a special day. This is the 30th anniversary of our teacher, Venerable Master Shenhua's Nirvana, and we've come together today, a day before the actual day, to do something special and different, which is to celebrate looking forward. When we meet, as we have every year for 30 years, looking backwards in sorrow, saying our teacher passed, I think it's also important, especially at this 30-year observance, to say, what did he plant, what did he start that is growing, that is flourishing, that is opening flowers and bearing fruit. So that's what this celebration is about. This is the afternoon session. We've had events this morning, tours of CTTB. We've had, there's a simultaneous Chan meditation session happening just on the other end of this building, and if any of you get bored by this lecture, feel free. Just help yourselves down there. You can get some instruction in Chan. This evening, there will be a panel discussion with members of the four assemblies, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, talking about Master Shenhua's life, stories that we experienced. So this is quite wonderful. I recently, I'm back from Australia where I've spent half a year, and I've uncovered a big box of photographs that I'd stored at Berkeley Monastery, and those photographs go way back. And I got a scanner, a photo scanner, and in the process of scanning the photos, I came into a folder that said Master Hua Nirvana 2001. And I opened it up. A quarter of a century ago, we're doing the very same thing. We're telling stories of Shifu's life. We're representing all that he gave us. Looking back, 24 years later, in 2025, we can look forward. So, they say, Confucius, after Confucius, he had, 1,300 disciples who traveled with him who were, they were hungry for every word he spoke. Well, they say that it wasn't long, even a decade after after Confucius passed away, there were only a handful of disciples left. His teachings were, you could say, unpopular, which was a source of great frustration for the great teacher, Kong Lao Fuzi. So even the greatest of teachers, as history reflects upon them, don't always connect with their immediate disciples. 30 years after Master Hua's Nirvana, we are beginning to unpack the treasures that he stuffed our pockets and backpacks and our running shoes and our hiking boots with. We're just now uncovering the gems of Master Hua's teaching in the West. So I think that's amazing. As I look in the room now, today we have friends here from Oklahoma, from South Carolina, from Georgia, from San Jose, from Seattle. People flew down from Seattle, from Australia. We have disciples here from all over who are growing. Lots of young faces here. What a joy to see Shifu's emphasis on education starting to pay off. Now, what am I going to talk about today? This is my chance. I was invited to take some time because I have some things I really want to share with you that I think might be surprising to a lot of you. And this is the jumping off point. When we talk about looking back at what Master Hua left us, we talk about 4 legacies by and large, where things that after 30 years of looking at his nirvana, and he was here for 30 years, so that's 60 years of perspective. What did he emphasize? What was important to him that he really wanted us to carry on? Well, one of them for sure was establishing Sangha. So creating monks, nuns, and lay people who know what it means to be a Buddhist. We have the best looking lay community. When we put on the black high chain and the lay people, they look like they know how to bow. They look like they know how to carry on their deportment. So also the places where monks, nuns, and lay people practice. So setting up monasteries, 28 to this day. The Berkeley Monastery was the last one from 1995. That was the year of Master Hua's demise. So now there are 28 monasteries. I've been in Australia, one of the very few blue-eyed Mahayana monks in Australia. There aren't probably 3 of us, very few. So important that we keep those legacies alive. Then, that's one of the 4. What's number 2? It's probably, I would go with translating the sutras. It's a toss-up with education, whether it's 2 or 3. But certainly, Master Hua, 90 minutes of every night he was in America, he dedicated it to speaking Dharma, to opening the sutras. And he did it in a remarkable way. He did it in a unique way. In China, oh boy, Master Hua described the way 老法师在中国讲经说法. How do they do it in China, the elder monks? Sometimes they close their eyes and they recite the commentaries from memory. Right? They just close their eyes. And of course, the lay people are just, it's really good. I don't understand a word. It must be deep. That's why the teaching school is probably one of the least popular. But Shifu did not do it that way. Shifu took the sutras and said, let the Buddha's voice be heard. He said, you need these sutras like you need shoes to walk in. You need sutras like you need a mirror to recognize your face. That's what they are. So 90 minutes of every day. On Saturday and on Sunday, twice, 2 sutra lectures. He took a break on Thursday. Thursday night, students' night for lecturing. We took turns, and guess what? Shifu was in the front row listening to us. And if we would goof up or forget, or say it wrong, a Chinese quote wrong, he would correct us, right? So how important did he take the translating of the Buddha's words into the West? Very, very important. We're going to talk about that today. Number 3 is education. And this, I think, is a really important. Do we want to slide down so that the Bhikshunis can sit here in front? If you guys all move to the right, 1 or 2 seats. Can you do that? There you go. All right. Well done. Am.am. And here comes, okay, wonderful. 来，过来，阿弥陀佛. Hey, Fasher. Okay, we're all set here. Now, education is something that Master Hua dedicated his entire life to. As a young man, he taught his own private free school for the kids in his neighborhood. He got to America, immediately established elementary schools, middle schools, universities. Now, here's something I think is really, really important. Dharma Buddhist University was established in 1976 officially. And right after that, Shifu made an important point. He said, monks and nuns need an education. He followed up by saying, the people you're talking to in this country, all by and large, are educated. He said, if they know more than you do, why do they have to listen to you? Right? About the world. He said, you may have memorized sutras, but if you can't explain them in words they understand, nobody needs to listen to you. Dharma Realm Buddhist University was set up so that monks and nuns could get educated in things that people understood, so that they could communicate, so that we could communicate with people. I think that's really important because why? It's misunderstood. People think education, I know in Taiwan, I know in China for a long time it was the Liankao. The Liankao, right? This was if you could afford to train for the comprehensive national examinations that came at what age? 金融师联考是18, 18岁. At age 18, you took the Liankao if you could afford and were on track for it, and the results of that test determined your future. That was it. Were you going on to education? Were you going to be a technical school? Were you going to find a job? That's not what Shifu gave us. Shifu established Dharma Realm University not to determine your saleability to a corporation. It was instead so that your mind could open, so that we could understand the world and then communicate the sutras in terms of things people understood. Education, right? That point is really, really important. A lot of people grew up, didn't make it through the Liankao, the standard exam. Education became their enemy. Education became rejection for them, right? It was a sense of failure. Who wants that? Oh, cultivation isn't study. We don't study for cultivation. They're separate. They're different, right? Not the way our teacher presented it. I think that point, the fact that Dharma Realm Buddhist University now is flourishing, says a lot about Shifu's spirit of education. And then finally, interfaith was number 4. Not only interfaith, the other religions in America, but intra-faith, so that Mahayana Theravada monks and nuns respect each other. There are fewer Theravada nuns, but the point. All right. So when I said I've got something really, I believe is surprising, let's go here, first of all. Bring this one up. I'm calling this Shifu's literary legacy. He made 18 vows. Vow number 16 says, 愿觉诸有情，普摄君一. I vow to awaken all sentient beings, responding to their many different potentials. So Shifu saw in America in particular, where he came in 1962, that Americans, people in America, not necessarily white Caucasians, but people in America, no matter your race, no matter your gender, were ready to hear the Buddha's voice. So he made it a point to write, to comment, to establish in poetic verse the world around him. Now, I just wanted to say, for example, here we go. If you look at Bodhisattvas in the Avatamsaka Sutra, if you go to the 10 Transferences chapter, in the 8th transference, here's what they talk about. True suchness accords with worldly languages. So too do Bodhisattva's dedication of good roots. It accords with the speech of all kinds of wisdom, right? 水顺一切智慧言说. Bodhisattvas pay a lot of attention to language. What else? This is the Bodhisattva in 8th transference. It says, true suchness gathers in worldly words and languages. What is true suchness? That's the sacred. That's the Buddha nature. That's, you could say, the holy from the Buddhist point of view. What does it do? It gathers in and includes all the speeches that we can make. There are something like 1,300 languages. If you check ChatGPT, it'll tell you there are 1,300 live languages on the planet right now. We humans use language and speech to communicate, right? 四土真教体清净杂音文 in the Shurangama mantra. The substance of the teachings is in sound, Language is how we do it here. In other places, they do it with lights. We do it with speech out of your mouth through to my ears. Likewise, bodhisattvas attain the wisdom of spiritual powers so we can know words and languages and speak all languages. Look at what bodhisattvas do. They pay a lot of attention to language. How interesting, right, that this really comes up. Yes?
Can we ask for 10 seconds interruption?
I'm sorry, Jerry. You're too late. No, go ahead, please. You can have 15 seconds if you like. Okay. I think what he meant was, shh. We ready? Good. Let's take a look at our teacher. How did he approach words and language? Well, we know that before he left home in Dongbei, northeast China, there was the Society for the Virtue in the Way, Dao De Hui. Shifu, as a young man, was asked to explain sutras. They liked his way of talking, right? Shifu, when he was a student, talks about what? Talks about he was good at matching couplets. We're going to find out about matching couplets, right? This is a Chinese literary art where somebody goes, da 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 da, writes down a line of words, and you go, I'm going to match it, da 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 da, and you match it tense, verb, adjective, how many, plural or singular, etc. Matching couplets. Shifu was the very, very best at that. He was so good that his other students, his classmates in school, if they couldn't come up with it, they would go and say, would you write mine for me? Would you ghostwrite it? Shifu would write theirs. The teacher would come and whack his knuckles with a ruler because nobody else could do that. They all knew every time they saw that second line, oh, you cheated. You got filial son bai to write your couplet, right? So he was that good at it. So then, just like the great monk from Tang, Xuanzang, Heshang, went to India because he saw that the sutras in China were often imperfect, incomplete, or actually incorrect sometimes. He said, I've got to go back to the source to get the right sutras. Shifu likewise said, you know what's wrong in China with the Mahayana monks? They're too selfish. They keep these wonderful treasures of sutras to themselves. He said, we have to circulate these in the world. So early on, Guanyin Bodhisattva predicted that he would go to America to bring the sutras to the West. The result of that, take a look. BuddhistTexts.org, BUDDHIST, two T's, text, BuddhistText.org. Check it out. Avatamsaka Sutra, Vimalakirti Sutra, new releases, bestsellers, children's books. Jin Roshi is sitting here in the front row. Jin Roshi, the latest medal was what? What was the award we won?
It was a gold and a silver from Nautilus.
For?
Nautilus. Nautilus.
Nautilus. Is it up here?
Nautilus?
No, let's see.
No, they haven't been put up.
Hasn't been up here? Our children's books, with Jin Roshi at the head, among other nuns here, just won a gold medal and a silver medal from, who was the organization that gave us the medals?
Nautilus.
Nautilus was the award, okay.
Yeah.
Nautilus is a national, global,
International
children's books society that judges and awards the best.
For better books of the world.
There you
That's
go.
what they are.
So look at this. These are all available. We just had the Ukiah Valley Book Fair here at the City of 10,000 Buddhas. Huge success in bringing the community in. 40 children's books authors showed up to demonstrate their wares. We are now on the radar of children's books authors in the world. This is Master Hua's vows, right? The Turtle King, the Kind Monk, Human Roots, Bodhi Tree, Prince Tigabu. Some of them have soundtracks recorded by Brian Conroy, our storytelling teacher. So, not to mention, all of our, here's the bookstore, here are the English language sutras. Look at this, right? This is the result of Shifu's spending 90 minutes of every night he was here in America explaining sutras so we could hear the Buddha's voice, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. So many volumes here. And I have to say, if you go out into, Doubleday or Barnes & Noble, if you can find one anymore, looking for sutras, it's the same old tired Six Patriarch Sutra, Diamond Sutra, and a few others. That's it. They're not available. Come here. We have abundance. We have abundance of Mahayana texts. And many that are still waiting to be done, I might add. So anyone who wants to offer their services to the Buddha to keep Shifu's vows alive to the next generation, come and talk to me. Talk to any of the monks and nuns here. Talk to Jin Yongshi. Be happy to find out about your Bodhi resolve to translate sutras. All right, that's one. Now, you say, I have lots of copies of Shifu's sutras already, but I want digital copies so that I can hand them on to my grandson, etc. Go to DRBA Chinese. Look at this, drbachinese.org. 线上阅读, right there, this menu item. Every one of Shifu's sutras and books are available in digital form here, including Vajrabodhisi, including Shifu's Kai Shures, including something that we are enjoying right now, which is Master Empty Cloud's picture biography. Many people simply don't know about this book, that it exists, right? Here is Master Empty Cloud, as we know, lived to be 120. He's our grand teacher. And let's get something exciting here. That's Rangoon. Let's go here. Okay. Here he is on his 3 steps, 1 bow pilgrimage, and he was caught in a snowstorm and nearly died, got dysentery, and this beggar fellow showed up and took, dysentery, you can't control your outflows. So Wen Ji, this strange guy, picked up his clothes, took him off to wash him, cooked up a meal of yellow millet, and fed him. Only later did Master Empty Cloud discover this was Manjushri Bodhisattva's transformation. Shifu selected from Master Empty Cloud's Nianpu, his autobiography. Out of 120 years, he took 200 stories, synthesized them into the text. It has been translated, and then Master Hua wrote a 4-line verse for every single episode. This is Shifu's incredible contribution. In Chinese, they say, 空圈为有的. This is unprecedented, that Shifu's 4-line verses match the situation perfectly, as they stand alone as poetry, but in terms of capturing what happened. Look at this. 感奉除秽雕翻尘，大智若愚，密度人。药水服后尽黄米，周身大汗甘露淋。Getting rid of the odorous filth, he wiped up the mundane dust, so to speak. Those of great wisdom appear as if foolish and quietly rescue people. After taking the medicine, the master could eat a little yellow rice gruel. His entire body profusely, sweated profusely. He was soaked with a fine sweet dew, right? So one after the other. Here's the next one. Wen Ji decides to bow with him, carrying his baggage. So Master Empty Cloud's bows can be, right? So here's a wonderful book. Where do you find it? You find it right here on 线上阅读 online reader at drbachinese.org. Who knew? Here's the whole Abatamsaka, the whole lotus, Master Hua's Kai Shures, right? Here's the Shurangama mantra verse anthology, etc., etc., etc. Look at this, right? What incredible work people have done to get this collection of Shifu's literary output online available, in Chinese, occasionally with Chinese translation, not often. All right, moving on here. What else have we got? So you don't want to buy the book, you want to read it online? Okay, go to Taipei Fajie's website. This is 美国法界佛教总会台湾网站. This is 智慧之源. Everybody knows Jin Fu Shi, who was a news editor in Kaohsiung, wrote her own newspaper called Source of Wisdom, 智慧之源. It's been captured on, this is reporting on, is there a date here? This is the 91st year in Taiwan, that's 2003, right? News. 新春华严法会, reciting the Avatamsaka to welcome the new spring. So you get it. We have all of these efforts by Shifu's disciples to put his literary output online. But today, I want to show you something very, very special. I've got it in my hands. It's right here. What in the world is this? It comes in a box. This is a product of 1998, 3 years after Master Hua's Nirvana. As you can see, it's a sizable volume. It's only in Chinese. It's 上身下化老和尚集赞歌咏传集, known in short as the Shici Zhuanji, the anthology of Master Hua's writings. This book is a treasure, and I asked the Dashuku, our book repository, how many copies there were, because I knew after I announced it here, there's going to be a run on them. And that's it. I talked to the nuns who put it together. I'm sure they don't want me to say their names, but there were two nuns who were at Gold Sage down in San Jose, and they took, 3 years after Shifu's Nirvana, they not only took all of the literary output, but they laid it out in a beautiful way. Anybody who knows our books knows who did this kind of layout, right? This one particular nun. I talked to her this morning, and she says, this is it. The books were given to Heyu in Tainan, the publishers, before there were desktop layouts, before InDesign. Pretty much everybody uses InDesign now. I'm not advertising for Adobe, but it's a fact. That's what it is. At that time, it didn't exist. So people had to go to proprietary software in Taiwan. Oh, what is this? Shifu's verses from Master Empty Cloud's picture biography. They combed everything that Shifu wrote and spoke and put it in. Incredible treasure that this is. Including, now, this is one that most people don't know. If you go to the back, you find Shifu's songs, many of them in English, right? All the way from Jin Shi Kong to I'm really lucky, right? All here. Amazing, amazing collection. So that gives me my intro to this. 立功立德立言玄公上人文字译阐. This is our topic today, and if you go, I want to show you. Now, English speakers, it's going to be harder to find because it's kind of hidden. If you go out to that website, this is still our BTTS, and there it is. You have to look at verses written by V.M. Hua, Venerable Master. There it is. That's the book. Now, what about it? Let's take a look at it. It's verses, poems, praises, rhyme couplets, mantras, songs, and essays by Chan Master, Tripitaka Master, Vinaya Master, Pure Land teacher, ascetic monk, mantra master, and poet-author, Master Xuan Hua. Now, I took I guess when I do full screen, I made it big enough. Let me see. It's funny, it shrunk again. Let's see if we can, let's try to, there we go. I took from the contents here some samples. The preface, the things I wanted to say are captured here. I wrote a preface to this back in 1998, and the preface, let me tell you how it goes. Here we go. It's February 6th, but I think it serves us today. I'll start by saying here, many people know our teacher as founder of City of 10,000 Buddhas, Chancellor of Dharma Buddhist University, Chan Master, Tripitaka Master, Vinaya Master. Probably bottom of the list, if it ever came up, would be literary historical literary figure. People wouldn't think of that. What I'd like you to go away from today's lecture understanding is that our teacher was a remarkable writer. Okay, that's the setup. Here we go. So this is an anthology of Master Hua's verses and essays. I think it's the first of others to follow. I hope it's a sampler so we could go through and just taste. We haven't done all of it yet. Shifu was a wordsmith. He was eloquent. He took a lot of care with his writing. And of the 4 kinds of eloquence, right, there's one called le shuo bian cai wu ai, le shuo bian cai, delight in speech. He loved words, and he took a lot of care with words. One Saturday in Vancouver, I was sitting on a sofa at the back of the Buddha Hall after a lecture. This was one of those days when Shifu showed up in Vancouver. Oh my goodness. We wouldn't see him for 3 months, and then he would come for a weekend up to Gold Buddha. It was the old converted Salvation Army building on East Hastings Street. Shifu would lecture, the Saturday afternoon lecture. Then there was a sofa, and he would sit back and kind of sit back like this, and that was the sign that the doctor is in, come get your cure, right? So a dozen disciples gathered on the floor around him, and he started to recite Zheng Dao Ge from memory, right? He just, 君不见觉晓无为先道人 不持妄想不求真，无名实行即佛性，幻化空生即法身，法身照耀无为我，半念自性天真佛。Okay, and we're like, 15 minutes later, he finished it. He recited straight through for 15 minutes. And when was the last time you heard anybody recite anything from memory? Right? I pledge allegiance, maybe that or something. Maybe some of you know Steph Curry's basketball statistics by memory. I don't know what, but this was astonishing to have him recite it. And then he said, he said, that's nothing. He said, I want you all to know, any day you can recite the Song of Enlightenment by memory, that's a day you will have no afflictions, he said. So we're like, whoa, So, for those of us who'd never memorized literature, it was an astonishing performance. He said, there it is, anybody who recites the Song of Enlightenment in the morning will be free for afflictions from the sire day. I can recite from memory all the books I read as a schoolboy, including the Si Shu, 7 medical texts and lots of poetry. How come you can't do that? Said Shifu, mock angry. And we're like, So then he told the stories from his childhood. Elementary school, he would ghostwrite his couplets, his classmates' duilian, matching couplets. One evening, after coming to Vancouver, he let everybody at the City of 10,000 Buddhas into Wonderful Words Hall, which is just there. Wonderful Words Hall is right behind us. We met the consummate writer in action. He introduced us to the Chinese literary form of matching couplets. He wrote a topic sentence on the board with a twinkle in his eye, invited, teased, and challenged any disciple to come and write a matching line. How many people were there? Alan? Anybody? Okay, Bob was there, right? Ron was there, certainly. Okay, Terry was there. Terry was a star at matching couplets, right?
There was a children's version also.
There was a children's version. Unbelievable. These 10-year-olds would get up and write a Chinese matching line, and we would, Shifu would go, not bad, not bad. Yeah. So, one by one, our matching lines would begin to cover the chalkboard. Then Shifu would take his turn. He would move down the board, making corrections, sometimes praising, sometimes writing one word or two words that made a better match. Often his changes would improve the style and at the same time completely alter the meaning of the matching line. His words almost always took it to a deeper level or clarified the insight of an individual whose line it was. You would see your face in Shifu's correction of your matching line. And he would just, for him, this was fun. He lived for this all his life. Gradually, we learned that much of Shifu's Dharma teaching was taking place at the same time. It seemed that he was correcting more than our couplet matches. He was grading our cultivation and taking us one step forward, seeing the habits of our minds all at once. Right? Now, I have an example. It's embarrassing and 不怕丑, what do they say? Here we go. All right, so I think this is really nice. Our anthology starts with these words. 妙语如珠，说不尽，饮胜师范，逝者稀. This is a couplet. His wondrous skill with language shines like a pearl, beyond description. The hidden sage appears ordinary. Few recognize him. Right? Look at the couplet. 妙语, wondrous speech. 隐胜, hidden sage. Perfect match. 如珠, right? Like a pearl. 示范, shows ordinary. 说不尽, that's a cliche, that's a 成语. 逝者稀, speaking never ending. Knowing one, recognizing people, very few, right? His wondrous skill with language shines like a pearl, beyond description. The hidden sage appears ordinary. Few recognize him, right? Okay, here's the story. All right, here we go. There we go. There's more to come on this. So the story happened on a pilgrimage that I took at one point from Southern California to City of 10,000 Buddhas. This is me as a silent monk. I was a yaba. I was a mute. This is Heng Chao, Marty Verhoeven. Shifu was here at lunch on a Saturday at Gold Wheel down in LA. This is called The Mute Speaks Dharma, Yaba Shofa Ji. And it's a perfect example of Shifu matching couplets and teaching at the same time. All right, so I was out. This was Half Moon Bay. People know right over on the coast on Highway 1. And I had been what you call false thinking while I was bowing. I wrote a verse. I knew Shifu was coming. I'd heard from the week before that he was coming, so I thought, I'll write a verse and show Shifu my accomplishment, right? That's called false thinking, okay. So what did I come up with? I came up with an English verse, then I translated it for myself, and I was expecting praise for my translation, all right? False thinking. So I wrote, 言辞偏移，经术多，精神宝贵，稀有佛。梦中只语理诸念，觉后精气味中说。All right? Now I expect applause. Thank you. Hold the applause. That's all right. We'll save it to the end. All right. All right. as if, right? Words are cheap. You got to move this guy. This is my original before it was translated. Words are cheap, but energy is precious. Sutras are priceless. Buddhas are few. Still dreaming? Stop talking, and do no false thinking. Awakened? Speak Dharma with all that you do. I thought, wow, not bad. Uh-oh. That's a sign that you're in trouble as soon as you think what you did is going to get Shifu's praise, right? So Shifu's there, we had lunch, and they were cleaning up. Fangbo Wu was there, and who wrote Woman Soldier, the Chinese novelist? Anybody remember? What was her name? Xie Bingying was there, right? So I said, Shifu, I wrote a verse. Oh? Said, Shifu, could I recite it? 怎么样啊? So I said, words are cheap, energy is precious, sutras are priceless. But mind you, this is the only person I talked to since the last 2 months I saw him. And I said, Shifu, I translated it myself. 怎么样啊? 你念给我听. So I recited 言辞便宜. Shifu, there was not 2 beats between the end of my giving in the Chinese when Shifu went, 言辞虚妄交变多, 宝贵精神可成佛, 梦中只语无差念, 觉后原来一字默. Now, if you don't speak Chinese, you don't get the incredible, instantaneous way Shifu's mind worked with language. I said, 言辞便宜经数多. So Shifu kept the 2 words, 言辞, words. I said, words are precious, words are false, energy is precious. Shifu said, your words are false, and your excuses are many, he said. I said, 精神宝贵, 虚有佛, energy is precious, and Buddhas are few. Shifu said, he flipped over 精神宝贵 to 宝贵精神. When you learn to cherish your energy, you can become a Buddha, he said, right? Just by flipping the Chinese around, he made it completely like a 当头棒喝, club over my head. And Meng Zhongyi said, oh, that 3rd line's not bad. We'll keep that, but just add this. He said, still dreaming, stop talking, 无差念, don't have a single instant of thought. And then the last line was, you got to get this last line. He said, after you awakened, fundamentally, there was not a single word in it anywhere. There were no words in it all along, right? Which that's just like the 6 patriarchs saying to Shenzhen, to the, who was he teaching? Shen Shou, saying, where can dust alight? Fundamentally, there's nothing at all. Where could dust alight? So, incredible teaching. Your words are false, your excuses are many. When you value your energy, you can become a Buddha. Still dreaming? Stop talking. Do no false thinking. Awakened? There was never even 1 word in it at all. Right? So it's like, Now, when I left home as a graduate student, I had been at Cal for years, and I was involved in language. I was all the way through school, languages were my thing. So this teaching was for me to appreciate how this is a master of language. He can use anything that you give him to teach you, whatever it is. So, just astonishing. The mute speaks Dharma, right? 言辞虚妄狡辩多，宝贵精神可成佛。梦中只语无差念，巧后原来一字默。So that's Shifu's couplets, his ability to take whatever you offer him and turn it around to point to your mind, right? So one of the most enjoyable moments of studying with the abbot were the sutra lecture classes at CTDB. When lecturing on sutras, Shifu would use language as a tool for teaching. He made bilingual puns, he enunciated words slowly for effect, he joked, he whispered, he sang, he told stories. On the occasions I translated for the master, I was one of the team of translators, some of whom are here in the room with us today. I witnessed his eloquence. Sometimes Shifu would wait for you to translate, and then he would pretend he didn't understand it and then correct your English, right? He said, no. And then he was 2 steps ahead of the translation, carefully listening to the nuances of the interpretation. Sometimes he would break into the flow to correct a faulty English rendering, to the surprise and amazement of the listeners. Of course, the translator was being tutored in Dharma at the same time. Spoken languages go by the ear and it's gone, right? Careful listeners could detect the skill and the training and the wisdom that went into Shifu's spontaneous talks. His talent, his commitment to Dharma protection, his love of the way are all visible in his writings. His depth of insight, his learning, his compassion shine forth from his books, his verses, and essays. All right, I have an example that comes right here from City of 10,000 Buddhas that I don't think anybody else saw. This is astonishing. And it remains to this day in my mind an example of our teacher's humor, his willingness to teach, and his deep insight of the mind. Okay, here we go. So here's the story. The Water, Land, Air, 水陆空法会 had just finished. The year is 1987. And it happened where we are sitting and all around. Took the whole campus. 100 monks, nuns, lay people, cadres came from China. First time since 1949 that monks have been able to leave. So by and large, it was an incredible experience. Some of the monks might have been a little jealous at seeing this huge facility in America. So in Dabeyuan, Great Compassion Quad, where the men are, it's where the laymen stay and where our guests stay when they come. There's number 10, which is directly across the street from Tathagata Monastery. If you know where the dining room is, it's the last one over there. And there's a doorway that opens out onto the road. I don't know the name of the road between Tathagata Monastery. There's a blackboard, and a little blackboard, and we would write, quiet hours, something, or missing items, something. It was there. And the monks had just set off for the airport, and I was cleaning up. Everything, the rooms were all vacant. And I went to the blackboard, and one of the Chinese monks had written a message on the blackboard in Chinese. And it was, 挺多房间，可惜无人. Very snarky. Lots of rooms, so sad, no people. Right? It's kind of like it's a put down of this jealous, fueled by jealousy, of City of 10,000 Buddhas. Okay? So I said, Shifu came by. He was just walking. Shifu, 你看有人写字的师傅. He said, 挺多房间，可惜无人. He said, he handed me a piece of chalk. 你替我写 to see if I can write it. My chance to write Shifu's. So Shifu said, 我应该怎么说呢? What should I say? Shifu said, I don't know, Shifu. What should you say? Shifu writes, 有佛. That I can write. Right? Just, you can't insult him, right? Oh my goodness. So, the abbot took little known Dharma methods that monks had always considered too difficult to explain and made them accessible. He opened up the meaning of mantras via the poetic medium of 8-line verses, each line containing 7 words with the rhyme scheme AABA, traditional Chinese rhyme scheme. In 56-character verses, the abbot clarified principles in a way that was easy to read and yet contained esoteric and profound dharmas. His verses captured the meaning of mantras, sutras, and essays and biographies. He used this form, the 8-line verse, sometimes 4-line verses, to explain the Heart Sutra, the Great Compassion Mantra, Guanyin Bodhisattva's 42 hands and eyes, and the crowning literary achievement, the verse explanation of the Shurangama Mantra. Right? Lang Yan Zhou Ji Song. He also edited and added a second layer of commentary to Master Shu Yun's biographies of the patriarchs. The Venerable Abbot's straightforward style made understanding the meaning of the esoteric mantra sounds easy and enjoyable. He made both accessible and readable texts that nobody had ever attempted to open up before. He pioneered a literary style that, to my knowledge, is unprecedented in Buddhist literature. All right? Now let me say that to you. I read it, I'll say it. Nobody had ever jiang zhou, jiang tuo ni, right? Nobody had ever explained mantras before. Here's the Shurangama mantra. First of all, can you memorize it? That's a big steep mountain for people to climb. It's hard. It's lang yan zhou lang ban yan, right? When you memorize the Shurangama mantra, you are lung, you're paralyzed for half a year to learn it, because it's so hard. Right? Shifu took this impenetrable, scary text that many people, even monks and nuns, say, oh, is it too difficult? He took every single line and he added a verse to explain it. The verses are standalone poems that are marvelous. They rhyme, they fit the scheme, they carry on principles, and they're delightful, right? Just 500 plus to do the Shurangama mantra, 95 to do the Great Compassion mantra, right? 42 hands and eyes. So how do we know the verses of the Shurangama mantra? We know them because they are on the front covers of Vajrabodhisi. Find them. Where are we here? Here's the Great Compassion Mantra verses with the sages of each Guanyin's transformations in each one, right? And here's the Shurangama. Where have you seen these, right? Covers of Vajrabodhisi. Shifu took those mantras lines, put them on the cover of the magazine, and there's a story within a story. He was using those to subdue the ghosts and demons in San Francisco, he said. So, to my mind, that's unprecedented, never been done before. So, the Venerable Abbot's literary output was extraordinary, like the great commentator, Tripitaka masters of the Ming Dynasty, Master O.E. Zhishu, Zhu Hong, Lian Shidashi, Master Lotus Pond, Master Hanshan Deqing of the Ming. Master Hua's commentaries seem to flow from him unceasingly like a river. Aside from his verse compositions, Shifu's original prose and poetic works included Shui Jing Hui Tian Lu, Water Mirror Averting Disasters. How many people have read that? How many people know it exists, right? And yet there it is. And it's spectacular. The 10 Dharma realms are not beyond a single thought. Our Jin Chuan sure has picked that up to retranslate into English. He said it was personally very important for him. The illustrated verse biography of Venerable Shu Yun. Now, I took this for Friday night lectures. Anybody who, I'll give you a little bit of shameless advertising here. Go to YouTube, Now, if you're listening in China, you won't be able to do this. Go to City of 10,000 Buddhas Live. Oh, let's see. That's for tomorrow night. Go to Dharma Realm Live. Dharma Realm Live. Channel. Dharma Realm Live. Here it is right here. Okay, right there. Now, see this one? I go to playlists. Go to playlists, and here is this guy. Master Hua's picture biography. Click on that, and, hold on.
The heir of the Weiyang school.
Okay, so we currently have, how many? We're halfway through. We've done half of the 2 volumes. I did 72 last night. We're now on 73, and that's coming up next Friday night, 7:30. Now you have to click off Marty's lecture. I know you are listening to Marty's lecture, but click off and go to me. And listen to Master Empty Cloud's picture biography. This was explained last night, and this is Shifu's story, his selection of episodes of Master Empty Cloud's 120-year-old life combined with a verse, right? Shifu adds a 4-line verse. And it's just marvelous. For storytellers, anybody who loves storytelling, for example, last week, Master Empty Cloud gave the refuges to a rooster. And the rooster had been liberated, Feng Sheng, and it was a mean bird. The bird, hold on here. Let's see, here we go. We'll find it right there. All right, so this is the text that I lecture from, just to give you a flavor of it, because it's just superb stuff. And this is part of Shifu's literary output, and nobody knows. Just, we don't know, you know. So here we are, going in seclusion. After a rooster takes refuge, it's mindful of the Buddha and goes off to rebirth. So this is a real story, happened to Master Empty Cloud. In 1903, the Boxer Rebellion had just been suppressed, and the 8 root armies were marauding through China. And this is 19, there were 8 years of the dynasties left. 1911 was when the Republic, right? The Imperial China, 5,000 years, had 8 years left till it came to a screeching end. He was 64 years old, and he showed up at this temple, and somebody said, Shifu, there's a rooster who took refuge with you and doesn't fight, doesn't pick the feathers off the other birds anymore. Not only that, stopped eating insects. People have to feed it. It's standing in this tree up here. And the bird went in front of the Buddha, stood up, and died. So, amazing. Then this was documented. People saw it happen. So Shifu had the artist in Hong Kong do a charming line drawing, right? And then he wrote his verse. 胸肌念佛上王生，无人岂可不精勤？念字在字不间断，一心不乱，悟无生。Even the dauntless rooster recited Buddha and went off to rebirth. How can we people afford not to be diligent? Being ever mindful, always reciting without cease, single-minded, without confusion, we awaken to non-production. All right. So there's an example, and just incredible stories. So that's every Friday night. We've got half of his life to go. He's only 64, and he lived to be 120. So that's every Friday night, just to celebrate one of Shifu's legacies. This is the Shu Yan Lao Heshang Hua Zhuan. Following that, what else do we have? We've got Shifu's amazing story of the patriarchs, and by that I have to be careful. It's not patriarchy. It's important to recognize that is not patriarchy. It's the ancestral patriarchs, the mostly masculine, not entirely, but mostly masculine lineage of Buddhist teachers. Master Empty Cloud received a text from the Ming Dynasty that had looked back at all the famous people in Chinese Mahayana Buddhism. And Empty Cloud sent out all his disciples in 1959 and said, this has to be correct, get the details, update it, make it, increase it. We want to know all the people who lived. So he got them, he wrote a verse, he got wood carvings of their faces, and then passed it on. In 1959, he sent it to Shifu. Shifu was in Hong Kong. Couldn't be 59, he passed 57. 57, Shifu got this envelope from Master Empty Cloud saying, take care of this, cherish it, don't let these stories be forgotten. So there were 303 individuals. Shifu added 27 to make it 330, and he added a verse to every one of them. Of course he did, right? 4 lines, 8 lines, all included here, every one of them, with the stories of this line of men and women who 传灯, right? Who passed on the lamp of awakening. How incredible. So after the picture biography, I'm going to jump into the stories of the ancestral. In the Zen world, they're allergic to the word patriarch, so it's the ancestors, right? So we'll probably use patriarchs and say it's not patriarchy, just be clear on that. So, Master Xu Yin's biographies of the Buddhist patriarchs, 在称谦定佛祖导引, it's called in Chinese. So that's coming up. And I'm going to need a lot of help. Any volunteers who want to help me? Heng Sure, we're going to recruit you for that job. Make sure that I'm online for that. I don't want to make mistakes in that. But I think that's another one of these works. Nobody knows, right? Okay. Even older monks have told me personally, while they admire the commentaries done by famous Sangins of the past, when they need to figure out what the sutras say, they turn to Shifu's commentaries. The simple reason is his commentaries are readable and profound without losing touch with the experience of daily cultivation. One of the Abbott's Sangha brothers said it was common knowledge among the Buddhist community in Hong Kong that the Venerable Master's commentaries read even better in English than they do in Chinese, they said. Okay, another thing that this book has, almost all of them. They collected Shifu's talks before Chan sessions, before Amitabha sessions. Before a Chan meditation session began each winter, Shifu would hold up his shangban, and that we used to wake up sleepy meditators. The session participants stood in anticipation on both sides of the hall. The first stick of incense was lit. The tension that precedes a 7-day marathon was tangible. Shifu would stand still, raise the board, recite a verse. He would finish with a roar, "Chi," and everybody's, rise up your energy. Every verse captured perfectly the flavor of the session. Like medicine, like fuel, it would return to mind at difficult moments of the retreat. The opening verses had the ability to power the mind through the hardest challenges so that we could finish the retreat and benefit from the stillness. All contained here with dates. So we know, was it Gold Mountain? Was it CTDB? Where was it? Here's an example. Give you one. Here we are. I'll just move on. You haven't seen this. This is my selections in case how are we doing? Okay, we got time. This is the Chanbai Chi Shifu's biographical poem, The Beggar from Ever White Mountains. 不改过己. He didn't change his citizenship, right? Demons polish true cultivators. That's an important message. 境界. I bet many of you can recite this from memory. 一切是考验，看而怎么办？对面若不是，须在从头练. Everything's a test to see what you will do. Mistaking what's before your eyes, you'll have to start anew. Here's the Mute Speaks Dharma. You've seen that one. Pick it up, let it go. This is a verse for starting the Chan session at Gold Mountain, 1972. I think Alan was probably there. I know Ron was there. I hadn't come yet. This is before I arrived. So this is the winter of, Ernie, do you remember this one? Were you there for the Chan session? 1972? Probably not. So it goes like this. It goes, 提得起，放得下，念佛是水，哈哈哈。放得下，提得起，水是念佛，嘻嘻嘻。不是你，不是我，你我之间人太多，也是你，也是我，虚拟打倒，水淹没。Same flavor as the six patriarchs. Pick it up, let it go. Who's mindful of the Buddha? Ho, ho, ho. Let it go, pick it up. Who's the Buddha mindful of? Ha, ha, ha. It's not you, it's not me. You and me, too many people here. It is you, it is me. When Sumeru topples, who will there be? Right? You can take that to the bank. That will get you all the way to your nature. You can cultivate with that, and it will unfailingly point you back to the place. Okay, this is the one I wanted to show you in particular. Shifu wrote this in Vancouver. And he said, this is the third dhyana. He said. He told me this is the state of the third dhyana. This is Disanshan, the Jingji. So the Buddha is said to have actually, under the Bodhi tree, that he got to the third dhyana when he saw the moon and woke up. 天生活泼亦无邪，匠心离相即妙觉。大地消沉泯对待，虚空淬破了分别。灵光毒药照法界，智珠在包杨牟尼，不垢不净不来去，莫惜脉惜念住况现息。Be purely innocent and buoyant, free of crooked thoughts. Tame the mind, go beyond appearances. This is the wonderful secret. Then the earth melts away, even dualities are gone. Empty space breaks apart, all discriminations cease. Your magic light shines alone to illumine the universe. Your wisdom pearl is in your grasp. Guard the Mani jewel. Neither defiled nor pure, it doesn't come or go. Your pulse stops, your thoughts cease. The mad nature comes to rest. Right? That's a Chan master's verse. I mean, this is gold. You think, this is our teacher. We didn't have to go dig through some dusty tome to find a Ming Dynasty monk who said this once upon a time, on Zhenru Si and Tiantai Shan or Jinshan Si. No, Shifu said this in Vancouver at Go Buddha. And he wrote it on the board. He wrote it on the bulletin board. Patience mantra, the very first English language mantra. Written for whom? Doug Powers. Spoken for Doug Powers. Patience, patience, gotta have patience, don't get angry, 说不好。忍耐，忍耐，多多忍耐，切莫生气，说不好。Doug took it to Berkeley High School, and these 6'4" basketball players were insulting him, and he, instead of getting angry, Doug remembered, pulled out his notebook, recited it, didn't get angry, and this kid is this basketball center, he's new in class, and he was testing his limits, right? He's taller than Doug, and so Doug says, all right, sit down, turn to page 21 in your book. Oh, I'm sitting down nowhere, shit, And so Doug's like, patience, patience. He said, oh, okay, no problem. You teach? Went down and sat in the kid's seat. We're all waiting. The kid's like, hell with this. So it's like, because he was patient. Really works, really works. Okay, so there's a sample of the Chan teachings. Hold on here. Oops, I want the preface. One more time. In this text, there are well-known verses that were written for formal events to praise new Buddha images coming, when Shifu had the Kaigrong at various temples, to commemorate openings, holidays, special events in the lives of Sangha brothers. His relationship with Paul Cardinal Yubin is evident, as well as his admiration for the painter Zhang Daqian. Shifu's patriotic decision to remain a citizen of China, not apply for U.S. citizenship, is documented in a verse. Let me show you that one. This one is so poignant. People know Cardinal Yubin grew up in Shifu's hometown. This is the Catholic Cardinal of China during the early 20th century. And he was actually in the Vatican in the running for Pope at one point. So he passed away while he was in the Vatican, tragically. And Shifu wrote this verse. Shifu said, I was present in the room when Shifu met Cardinal Yubin for the first time. And we were in Los Angeles, and we were driven to this suburban house somewhere in Hacienda Heights or somewhere. And Shifu was talking to us, and then from the second floor down the stairway came this booming voice, 好奇怪，声音好熟悉啊，好像认识你的声音似的。So he says, how strange, your voice sounds so familiar, it's like I've known you. Shifu said, 当然，我们是知音者，没什么出奇了。Shifu says, of course, we are bosom buddies, one who knows each other's sound, nothing strange. So then they're like, oh, they discovered each other, and Cardinal Yubin says, you know, my mother used to discipline me using you as the example. My mother used to say, 你为什么不像白烧子那么乖啊? How come you can't be like the filial son Bai, you know, and listen to me, you know? Shifu said, we knew about you as well. So they heard of each other, but they never met. Now, this, how strange things work out, right? Last November, we were in Taipei at National Furen University, founded by who? Cardinal Yubin. And our talk, we had a Buddhist Christian talk, and many of the nuns were there, and our staff and faculty. And where did we have the talk? The talk was in the Cardinal Yubin Hall auditorium. And so I came in, and there's a statue of Cardinal Yubin out front, and the brand new chancellor who had been transferred over from somewhere in India. He's a Chinese Catholic priest educator. He came in, and I was able to start my talk by saying, by the way, I had a chance to meet Cardinal Yubin and talk to him and translate forth from him to everyone around. And these students were saying, we only saw his name. We're here at his university. We never imagined that he was actually a real person. Yes, here's Cardinal Yubin. I said he was our teacher's Zhiyinzhe. So as he passed in the Vatican, Shifu wrote this verse, 白山黑水玉其音，富贵荣华碧绿青，天主耶稣名体用，人心佛性悟圆融，生中最远明德厚，举功尽瘁古道风，大在屈机于主教，义性万事重阳尊。White mountains and black waters nurture an uncommon hero. Shunning wealth and glory, cast off like worn-out sandals. God and Jesus, exemplars of substance and function. Mind and Buddha nature, awakening to perfect understanding. Teaching reverence for parents and ancestors, he inspired the people to virtue. loyal, trustworthy. He bolstered ancient mores. Great you were, Cardinal Yubin. Your style set a model for every generation. All beheld your bearing with honor and esteem. How about that? As a eulogy, right? Perfect matching lines. As a poem, it's an outstanding Chinese poem, not to mention the significance of it being Buddhist-Christian dialogue, friendly, of it being testimony between two friends who met later in life. So Shifu appointed Cardinal Yubin Chancellor of our Institute for World Religions. He accepted. He said, I will be happy to do it. And he said, wait till I come back from the Vatican. I will take up my new position at City of 10,000 Buddhas. Well, he didn't come back from the Vatican. And he had a heart attack in Rome. And so the Institute for World Religions, much later, got set at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. But what a story to have these two, and our terrific evergreen story. This is the standard story we tell. I didn't tell this at Furen University. I didn't tell this story. So Yubin was up to City of 10,000 Buddhas for the very first time. So they came in through the back door of the Buddha Hall, and Shifu said to me, I'm going to make this Catholic bow to the Buddha. He said, So Shifu says, 于书记我有个建议，你愿不愿意做天主教里边的佛教徒？ He said, Cardinal Yubin, I got a suggestion. Why don't you become the Buddhist among the Catholics? He said. Yubin's like, And Shifu says, 你不必愁眉苦脸，你做天主教徒里边的佛教徒，我做佛教里边的天主徒，两个大宗教和平啊，世界不会有战争，你干不干？ He said, I'll be the Buddhist among the Catholics, you can be the Catholic. I'll be the Catholic among the Buddhists, you can be the Buddhist among the Catholics. When the two world's great religions see eye to eye, nobody will have any reason to go to war anymore. Will you do it? Yubin, 我干了，他说, I'll do it. He said, did a half bow to Guanyin Bodhisattva. He put his palms together. Half bow, Shifu looked at me and went, right? So our teacher was a Wenren par excellence, a true literary, here we go, stop, there we go. His literary output was just extraordinary. Some of you know, let's see here, I got just a little bit more. So we visited an old monk in New Zealand, Shen Sure Fashi, who had known Shifu in Hong Kong. He said the Venerable Abbot Shifu set a new standard for sutra lectures in Hong Kong. Most of the time, Master Hua didn't speak. He preferred to be silent and observe other monks who were refugees coming out of China, 1949, those next 10 years. But when it came time to speak Dharma, Shifu would bring forth the fruits of his scholarship. He was the envy of all the monks in Hong Kong because when he spoke, he would recite Tang poetry from memory. He drew from Lao Tzu, Confucian classics, medical books, and his own poetry. His lectures were in a class by themselves. When Master Hua wrote the essays on personalities from history, he published them later as Shui Jinghui Tian Lu, the Waterloo Reflections of Heaven. I think that's been retranslated. He wrote them standing at a blackboard. He did many of them here at Wuyantang, Wordless Hall. Shifu would get up to the blackboard. He would take, this is the days of chalk, right? It was a green board. He would stand there and he would get the 1,000-foot stair in the 50-foot room, and then he would go start to write. And he would write an essay dedicated to Dwight D. Eisenhower. dedicated to, who was the Egyptian prime minister? Sadat, right? And he would write the whole thing, line after line, and then he would write the verse. Did not correct a single character. He didn't go, oh, no. You know, he wrote them straight out and set the chalk down and go, you know, anybody got any questions? We watched the characters flow from his chalk. It seemed normal for a teacher to write formal lines of prose followed by a verse. What few people realized was that Master Hua was composing the essay on the spot without preparation. It was as if a special mandate, a fountain of wisdom, were flowing through him to speak to future generations. In conclusion, this collection contains special verses from the abbot that stand out from the rest, as if his sense of history requires a statement, as if the times spoke through his pen. Several of these verses will live on in the hearts of disciples. Perhaps the most famous of these is White Universe, Yujobai. One has the feeling that it points eloquently to the enlightened state of mind of a bodhisattva. The abbot predicted about this one piece that nobody would have the requisite wisdom and cultivation to fully understand it for years in the future. So that's now which one of you has the requisite wisdom and the gongfu. Shifu said nobody actually has the gongfu to understand Yujobai at this time, he said. In the future, we'll see, he said. This was written as a tzu. There's a famous tzu, a sonnet, so this doesn't match exactly as a tzu, by, it's called Manjiang Hong, which was written by, was it Su Dongpo? Who wrote Manjiang Hong? Wu Fei, Yue Fei, famous. And the sonnet has a special rhyming scheme. It's well known to Chinese, in China, in Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Wu fa chong guan ping lan chu shao shao yu xue, right? Stop me before I sing again, all right? So I learned that at Middlebury College, our Chinese choir, Chinese school choir sang Manjiang Hong. Shifu took the sonnet form of Manjiang Hong, the river is red with blood, right? The river is full of blood, it's red. And he changed it to the universe is white. Now, we've tried to retranslate this multiple times. I think this is probably the best translation so far. We went back to whether it was Dharma Master Chu, I forget who did this. Anyway, 冰天雪地无数条溪虫，洞别且知眠。静理观察，洞中生替，冷斗龙湖斗争幻化，let's see，常有戏，鬼哭神号幻化奇，真实意绝言不思议，当进取，大消民内外废，唯陈变法界周，无论个圆融，互相无碍，双拳打破虚空盖。一口吞尽差还远，大慈普度，大慈悲普度，流血汗不休息。Ice in the sky, snow on the ground, tiny creatures beyond number die in the cold or sleep in hibernation. Contemplate in the midst of stillness, investigate in the midst of movement. Wrestling with dragons, taming tigers in constant playful sport. Ghosts cry, spirits wail, their uncanny transformations strange. Ultimate truth transcends words. It cannot be thought of. Advance quickly. With large and small destroyed, both inside and outside are gone. Every tiny atom contains the entire Dharma realm. Complete, whole, perfectly fused, interpenetrating with no obstacles. Two fists shatter the cover of empty space. Swallow in one mouthful the ocean of every Buddha land. With great kindness and compassion, rescue everyone. spare neither blood nor sweat, and never pause to rest. Anybody get it? Not yet. Coming up. Okay. So this is worthy of your deepest reflection in samadhi, because that's, Shifu says, that's waiting for somebody with real gongfu to accomplish. All right. Let's see here. I've been a big fan of Shifu's couplets for monasteries. In Hong Kong, he's got several pillars, and they, as you go in the Buddhist lecture hall, 大法阐明，春生解受福，智德魔化，万国自迷兵. Okay, here's a perfect couplet. 大法, the big dharma, 智德, ultimate virtue, 阐明, explained, 魔化, silently transforms. 春生, 万国, the sentient beings become all 10,000 nations. 接受福, everybody gets blessings. Spontaneously pull back their weapons. Expounding the great teachings will bring blessings to the multitudes. Silent transformations of the highest virtue can generate a global armistice. Right? Come on. It's so good. And then there's another set of pillars. 凡往重重，十方诸佛传心律，音声了了，一切众生悟性天. The net of Brahma, layer upon layer, 10 directions of Buddhas transmit the mind-ground teaching. The sound rolls and rolls, perpetuates, all living beings enlighten to the heaven of their nature. The Brahma net unfolds in multiple layers, as do the mind-ground transmissions by Buddhas everywhere. Resonant voices have lucid clarity as all beings awaken to their inherent natures. Right? I mean, this is just so, it's our teacher's joyful moment to be able to put language where it can help us wake up. He was the best at this. So my time is up, and I just wanted folks to know about this volume. It's, if you want to, there's no English name for it, so people go, oh, the red one in the box? That's what they say. The red one, it's in the box. Yeah, that's what it is. Shifu's poetry, yeah. So it's, in Chinese we say, 诗词专辑, the poetry and verse anthology. So probably we'll call it Shifu's literary anthology. And the thing is, this is the 30th anniversary of his entering nirvana, and so unless somebody discovers a new stash of Shifu's poetry or verses, this is it. It's in there. There's that many, right? That's the advantage of having somebody's life conclude, you could say, even though we, 大点了, let's see here. Please mute your mic. Okay, we got some, there we go. So, thank you all. Any questions? Iwan, you got to have a question or 3 or 4 at least, right? Anything come to mind as you were listening? Any questions? You may show more, Tina.
No, just joy.
Joy. Okay, no corrections? She's okay. How? Jinyu Shu, any comments or? A typo?
Yeah, can't switch there.
Right, let's see here. Songs, I'm really lucky. Let's go here. Let's see here. 龙争虎斗. Good. Got it. Okay, anybody? Bob, Ron, any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Promise, hopefully it's not a downer. I wonder, he witnessed a lot of things going on in the United States, and it sounds like he wrote couplets for different people of the time, and I was wondering, did he write any couplets during the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King?
Really good question. So Graciela's question is, did Shifu was very tuned in to events. Did he write any of his water mirror for individuals during the 60s? For example, in the civil rights era, Dr. King, for example.
And the reason I ask, because it's very similar to what we're experiencing now again. So kind of contemplating on that to kind of get us through now would be.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Shifu was here? Let's see, 302, the last one, 366. This book is so beautifully done. So mostly it's people from it's the historical figures. He's got Confucius. He's got Sun Yat-sen, the father of modern China. 古今多少好皆是 heroes of the past. 诸葛亮 from the Three Kingdoms. Let's see, coming up. Washington, George Washington. Let's see here, 曾国藩. 师生. So here is Mao Zedong, Zhou Enlai. Hold on one second, Bob. Kennedy is here. Deng Xiaoying Shi. Khrushchev is here. Nikita Khrushchev. 太空时代竟有矿. I better not read that. Check it out here. John, let's see here. Wang Fengyi, Goodman Wang. Cardinal Yubin, we heard that one. Let's see here. Bing Liu, He Jingzhang, Ba Nuofu, Luo Lai. Some I don't recognize, so not that many. But yeah, well, what's waiting? We're waiting for you to pick up your pen and start writing. This is a monk from a rural area of Manchuria. So somebody in Northern California, Yeah, Bob.
I wasn't there, but I understand the master had some words for George H.W. Bush.
Yes, he did. Okay, definitely. So Bob said that it was in Portsmouth Square, middle of Chinatown, San Francisco. George H.W. Bush, George Bush's father, W.'s father, came on a campaign stop to Chinatown. Shifu's buddy, one of the secretaries of education in the Bush White House, was Zhu Bingmin, Professor Zhu, John Zhu. So John Zhu arranged for George H.W. Bush to show up in Chinatown at Portsmouth Square. Was anybody there? Ron was there. So Dr. Zhu, in his inimitable style, said, I'm going to introduce to you all now a hero of Chinese culture, the Master Xuan Hua. He will represent Chinatown, So Shifu comes out, and I forget who was translating. It might have been me. I think so. It sounds familiar. So Shifu says, now, he said, Buddhist monks do not take sides. He said, however, as a patriotic citizen of the United States, he said, as a citizen in the United, he didn't say he was an American citizen, as a someone who is deeply benefiting from the air, from the water, from the land of this nation, I want you to know that the person who should be president will be someone who never fights, who is never greedy, who never seeks, who is not selfish, who takes no personal advantage, and who never tells lies. If you, sir, can do that, you will win, he said. And Bush was like, he heard that. So Shifu spoke Dharma for George H.W. Bush, telling him the 6 guidelines, right? and he went on to win. So Bush invited Shifu to the inaugural dinner in Washington, D.C. So that was the beginning of a relationship. But then, at the end of those 4 years, Clinton was running against George H.W. for his second term. Shifu had me write a letter. And the letter, he dictated it to me from upstairs at ITI. And the letter said, if you want to be reelected, he said, simply tell in your next speech that you are not accepting a salary, that you are serving as president entirely for the rewards in character, not for any financial remuneration. That will move people to vote for you. That has not been done before. So I wrote the letter, signed, master, it went, and Dr. Zhu personally handed it to George H.W. Bush. And so Dr. Zhu called back. He said, Sifu, he said he agrees, except Barbara said no. Guess who won? Clinton won. So. Okay, so we will finish our session. Tonight there is going to be a special panel, and I should tell you that I looked at the, let's see here, these photos. Hold on here. Here's pictures from 2001. Look at this. These are amazing. Pictures from 2001. Here we are in the tent with our panel. Here is Fran. Here is Helen Wu. Here is Don Master Chur, right? 24 years ago, we were telling stories about our teacher. Okay, there is Stacy. There is Sarah. There is someone. Who's that? That's Terry. There's Heng Sure, Heng Sure. Come over here, and we've got on this side, we've got Ron right there. Doesn't look a day older today, right? There's the late David, myself. So my point is, in showing you these stories are timeless. 24 years later, tonight we are doing the very same thing. And some will be the same stories, and we will hear them as fresh, because this is a teacher for the ages. All right. Do we want to, can we all dedicate merit? Here's what I recommend we do. If people would like to make a wish, send out your goodness from the Earth Store Hall, this beautiful facility. Use your mind like a cell phone tower. We used to say a lighthouse, but nobody knows lighthouses anymore. We all know cell phone towers. 360. Send it out behind, left, right, all sides, above and below. Make a wish, however you want things to proceed, how you want, people's hearts to soften. Okay, should we do it? I'll give you the pitch. We can put our palms together and send out your merit. Here we go. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, now, since you got the screen there, I'll put up Guan Yin, and you all, right from where you're sitting, probably just as well, we can do half bows. Ready? First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, we'll see you all tonight at 7:30 in the Buddha Hall. All of you online joining, 我们到此为止。晚上见，7点半可以再收听。阿弥陀佛。Bye, everybody.